Krishna Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Rajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijabaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunabotaro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gauradai Pushpavanto Chitro Sando Tamonuno Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Abhaya Charano Sakho Sukado Paramanando Sundaro Subala Priyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Shri Gauri Vaishnava Guru Parampara ki Jai Shri Sri Davji Gopal ki Jai Shri Sri Radha Govinda ki Jai Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai Gaur Premanande. Morning again. Nice to be with everyone. Did you have this other thing too? Oh, it's here. Okay. Well, we're all set, huh?
We are set.
Okay. So we're continuing our discussion of the work in progress, Sakya Pranay, and this is the second chapter. And as we heard, the title is Play and the Python. So we've heard about the play. The play of Krishna's friends and his friends that so astounded Sukadeva Goswami that he was on the tipping point of pralaya. Pralaya is one of the sattvika bhavas, involuntary ecstasies, and pralaya in particular is a faint, to pass out, to go unconscious. And as we know, from this point on, he's in a precarious condition with regard to being in external consciousness and able to carry on with the narrative that is so pertinent to the questions arising from the circumstances surrounding Raj Parikshit. He has been cursed to die within 7 days. So attentively, he's listening. Right? He gave up eating and sleeping, which is very instructive to us because how did he get into this situation in the first place, the Raj? He got into this situation by behaving in a way that was uncharacteristic for him, and especially so with regards to what we're seeing here, that he could fast from food and drink for 7 days and nights and be fully attentive, eating, if you will, drinking, living on the kirtan of Sukadeva. What do I mean by that? Well, he was cursed by a Brahmin boy and for garlanding the boy with a snake because the Brahmin boy did not honor his presence, ignored him in meditation, which seems out of character, like he lost his composure and so forth, right? After all, I mean, he was in a meditation, he's just a boy, and it's a little over the top to garland him with a snake, and so for which then the boy cursed him for acting out of character, a saint, a king, a Raj, acting in this way in relation to a Brahmin. But we see that this out of character behavior is so out of character, given the character we see here. He's going to die in 7 days, and he's fasting from food and drink, the Raj. How controlled he is, in other words. How much he has mastered his harnessed his humanness, right? But it seemed, getting into this situation, he didn't have a harness on on his humanness. So given that contrast and what is coming out as a result of it, this Bhagavad Gita that we're all bathing in the nectar of, if you will, we understand that this is an arrangement. This is called Shobhana Karma. This is an arrangement of Krishna, that his devotee would act in this way, that that the outcome would be such as it is. So he is in Mahabhagavata, and his questions are bringing out the best, if you will, from Sukadeva Goswami, who's now reached a tipping point in this narrative. And as we'll see at the end, well, of the narrative of this chapter, he does, as I've mentioned before, pass out, enter into pralaya. So this is dangerous. The king only has 7 days to hear the whole story. If Sukadeva passes out, what will happen? So, as I mentioned, Dhananjaya, the son of Parikshit, thought ahead of time that this could happen to Sukadeva. So he arranged to bring kirtan, kartals, mridanga, and so forth, and employ Narada in case he passes out. You lead the kirtan. That will hopefully bring him to external consciousness. So again, this is peculiar because kirtan is meant to bring us to internal consciousness. And within internal consciousness, it goes so deep that one finds oneself in the lila. There again, he's doing kirtan. What kind of kirtan is that, right? So the kirtan from this side, by those who the kirtan is not taken fully inside, is being employed to bring him out. The beauty of kirtan. Therefore, it is a means, and it is the ends as well, right? So Sukadeva has praised the status of these cowherd boys, and really the status is somewhat twofold. We didn't go into this, I don't think, when we concluded our session on this famous verse, Itam Satam Brahmasukhanubhutya. It's a famous verse, right? Sukadeva says that the jnanis, they meet in meditation, right, with their minds closed down and their senses closed down. They meet this undifferentiated form of Brahman, Brahmasukha, Nirvishesh Brahma. This is their ideal. Satam, itam satam brahmasukhanubhutya. And we've clarified, or given a caveat there, who are those jnanis? They are not the Advaitans. No, satam means that they have some bhakti. Bhaktas are called sattvatas. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaitabotra paramo nirmat saranam satam. Satam means truthful, means honest. And this is the honest position. I'm a dependent entity, right? In order for me to function, even physically, in the world, I'm dependent. The microcosm of my senses are dependent upon the macrocosm of wind, light, air, as may be the case, right, in order to function. So I should live with gratitude, acknowledge my dependent status. And if our status to function materially is one that is dependent, and that dependence should be acknowledged and recognized, what makes us think that our position upon liberation will not continue to be one of dependence, when in fact the macrocosm and the powerful influences of nature that are functioning under the influence of devas, those positions of those devas are all partial manifestations of the power of the Godhead, right? So if we can rise above the influence of material nature, we only come in closer contact with the actual, with the center of the controlling, of the controlling agency, and we remain dependent entities. It's not that we will become him. This is the Advaitin idea. We become Brahman. No. But, as Gaudiya Vaishnavism explains, one could merge with Brahman without the loss of one's individuality, but without the knowledge at the same time, or the awareness that one still remains an individual. Curious situation. So satam, those who have a little bhakti in their gyan, or they engage in some bhakti in order to attain that status of Brahman realization, they can satam Brahma Sukhanubhutya and so on, right? Sukadev says, he who the sages see or realize, experience as undifferentiated Brahman, and then we look at the process, the method that they embrace to attain that. I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of neo-Advaitins in the contemporary spiritual scene, if you will, in the Western world. You can find them all over the YouTube, and they speak about and you'll get it, something like that. Well, contradicts thousands of years of tradition and statements of revealed scripture as to the rarity of such and what it takes to attain, and the examples. Again, hearing the call of the mountain, the Himalaya in India, that is the tallest peak, and speaks to us in a way, allegorically, metaphorically, as to how high we can climb in human society, which we have a propensity to try to do. Humans are always trying to transcend the present day limitations, physically, mentally, intellectually, that they experience. We're constantly trying to go one step further, right? One second faster, um, 1 mile higher, whatever may be the case. If you win the Olympics by 1/10 of a second, everyone celebrates. This is a moment that you've, relatively speaking, you've transcended the previous limitations or the possibilities. So human society is living on the edge of new frontiers, in pursuit of the new frontiers constantly. This is not something we find in the less complex forms of life, as I said before. The fish in the sea don't think, I wonder if I could fly, how high I could go. Neither do the eagles flying high think, what's at the bottom of the ocean? I should be able to check that out also. Why do we think that we can do all these things? We can fly high, we can submerge ourselves to the bottom of the ocean, because consciousness is not limited by the physical container it finds itself in. And in human life, which is a particular container, that consciousness is rising to the fore and asking about itself. It's asking qualitative questions. Why? Why am I? What is the purpose? Questions that aren't asked in the less complex forms of life, like how to eat, how to sleep, how to mate, how to defend is one thing. We can only find cows asking philosophical questions in the cartoons, right? Or birds, as may be the case, right? Whatever the cartoon. That's value, meaning. And it's asking about itself because it's coming. Are finding out, if you didn't already know it, that your ability to be an extraordinary artist can be done by a computer better than you, or an architect, a musician, or a mathematician, and so if you look carefully at it, all these jobs can be retired. Everything that you can do, arguably, the can be done better, quicker by artificial intelligence, except for one thing that humans can do. There's the one thing that artificial intelligence cannot replace. That is meditation. That is pursuing God. Hmm? That is not something that is a mental, intellectual, or physical engagement. It's not. It may be done with physical instruments. Hmm? It may be done with the use of the mind and the intellect, but it is a transrational exercise. Hmm? Chanting is an exercise that is not unreasonable, but is an exercise that transcends the function of intellect and its ken or its capacity to know. It can afford us a knowing that our intellect cannot. After all, we've been trying in human society to know how to be happy for as long as the human society has been around by the use of logic, reasoning, and so forth. And the only people that we find are really happy, arguably, fully happy, are those transcendentalists like Sukadev, who was oblivious to external conditions. So no external conditions, which we're all trying to avoid in order to be happy. Turn up the air conditioning. Now turn up the heat, right? As may be the case, as the conditions dictate, right? Our happiness is largely avoiding the overarching suffering that material existence constitutes. He was oblivious to it, oblivious. And he was living on Harikatha, right? Here he's sharing that. So to attain Brahmasukham, which is in this hierarchy that this verse speaks about, is on the lower end. It's the base idea of transcendent achievement. It's a form of indistinct mukti. Mukti means liberation, a liberation that's indistinct. The fact that you are by nature a dependent entity, as I was saying earlier, isn't fully understood. You're a servant of Hari. It's not realized. But you're peaceful. You're not struggling anymore. So to arrive at this is no easy affair. We may say it's easy, or it's a small thing, let's say. It's a small thing compared to what these friends of Krishna are experiencing. The face of God that they're experiencing, and how they're interacting with Him. It's a very insignificant thing, but it's not easy to attain. Go and live in a cave, and like I say, the Himalayan calls to the young Indian boy, one of 1,000 in so many villages, and he walks off in the night to join the world of the Himalayan sadhus, right? To experience Brahman, experience that the hot and cold, good and bad, happy and sad, they're all just products of a mind. That's all. Tam sitikshashva bharata. Sukha what is it? Sitoshna sukha da. Agamapai no nityastam sitikshashva bharata. What does Krishna say? The remedy for this, tolerate. So they go and tolerate. In month of Magh, the coldest month in India, they immerse themselves in the Ganga up to the neck at night. Pretty cold. And they'd say, cold or hot, it's the same thing. Then in the summer they make a fire. Hottest day in Costa Rica, we make a bonfire and sit around it. Hot, cold, no difference. These are the kind of practices, right? Tapasya. They're not easy things. It's not just sitting there and thinking about it. Non-dual. I think I'll be non-dual. I think I am non-dual. I think I shouldn't think that I'm non-dual. Thoughts are dual, and going through this whole. You see these guys and ladies too talking about it like this. It's no. Even the means to attain Brahmasukham, on the part of the Jnanis, is not an intellectual affair. One of the better ones, if you will, was this Ramana Maharshi. I say he was better because he said, "What is the path? Don't say anything." Yeah, according to strictly, that would be the correct. There's nothing to be said. There's nothing to be said. You are. You are. I am. That's all. Just sit there, and think about it, or don't think about it. Just be. Anyway, difficult to attain. and Paradevatena. Then there are others, he says, right? We heard, who are bhaktas. They worship the supreme deity because it's the right thing to do. This is Vaidhi Bhakti. They attain him in Vaikuntha, where he's worshipped with awe and reverence and so forth. Very extraordinary attainment, right? But he says, these cowherd boys, and then there's some people who saw Krishna and just thought he was an ordinary person. They didn't have the eyes to see. Premanjana, Churita, Bhakti Bilochanena, Sandasadeva, Hridayeshu Belokayanti. First you get the eyes of Prem, smeared with Prem, then you see him in the heart. Then you see him in front of you and play with him. What is that? This is what Sukadeva is marveling about. And these boys are doing this, right? We heard this famous verse. So he's about to pass out, thinking of their good fortune. What did they do to arrive there? So I was saying, as we began, it pertains really to two devotees, types of devotees, because there are three types or persons from three different positions who are in this position of playing in the cowherd leelas of Vrindavan with Krishna. Those are three. They are Nityasiddhas, who are the eternal companions of Krishna, like Subal, Stoka Krishna, Sridham, Ujjval, Kinkini, and so forth, right? And then there are two types of sadhakas. Sadhakas means practitioners, like ourselves. One type coming from earth, right, where they've practiced, and they've perfected their practice enough to have attained prem, which cannot be fully contained in the sadhaka deha, the practitioner's body. So they get another body, a gopa body of a cowherd boy, or if it's a gopi, cowherd girl. And they take birth in the Leela of Krishna, where it is appearing also on earth. In fact, the reason for that prakat, we call it the prakat, means a manifest Leela on earth, is those sadhakas. It's for them. Krishna cannot remain separate from them. Their separation has grown so intense that now they've taken birth in the Leela. So he comes with his eternal associates to catch them up and give them hands-on association with his eternal associates, that they can fully refine their emotional identifying bhava, their sthayi bhav, whether it be gopi bhav or gopa bhav, madhurya ras, sakya ras, as may be the case, right? These eternal associates, we come under their guidance, right? With our Gurudev also, right? So some come from earth, right? After perfecting themselves, then they enter this Leela. It's like, I've given an example, like if you're in college and you're playing football, like your son was in college, right? And he was a tight end or something like that, a receiver. So he was playing, and then there's a chance for the best of those college students can get drafted by the professional teams. And then the best from this college and the best from that college and the best from that college is on a team where all the bests are there. So the whole game is going at a different pace. It's not a different game, but it's going at a faster pace. And the only way that you can pick up the pace and the intuitiveness of it all is you have to get on the field and associate with those persons. And then you prem for football. Your football sthayi bhav will be perfect. is told by Krishna when he says, I don't know, about this meditation. It's hard to capture the mind. It's like trying to capture the wind. Difficult to do. So I don't know if I'll be successful. And and if I give up the dharma of the varnashram, my kshatriya scriptural mandates of how to conduct myself, and I try for the yoga that you're talking about, but I'm unsuccessful, what's going to be my position? Maybe I should stick to the Dharma more because I'm pretty good at that. He's a world famous Kshatriya, full of integrity and so forth. At least I know I can get there. I'm already getting results there. If I give that up to pursue the yoga that you're talking about, but I'm not successful, which is not easy to do, to capture the mind. I can conquer nations and nation states and protect Draupadi in all circumstances, whatever may be the case. But to control my mind, that's another thing. No, that's like trying to catch the wind, right? Good luck on a hurricane day. Oh my God, this is Arjun's. This is a powerful warrior, powerful Kshatriya, powerful Kshatriya. Now he's being asked to take up the monk's path. I gave an example the other day. The monk and the warrior, right, were having a discussion, a bit of an argument, and the warrior got a little worked up, and he said, "Don't you realize, without a blink of an eye, I can stick my spear right through your heart. Watch out." And the monk said, "Yeah, but don't you realize that if you stick me with your spear in the heart, I won't blink an eye? What about that?" And the warrior just melted. What kind of power is that? Understand? What kind of power is that? Whatever happens in the world, I won't blink an eye. I know it. There will be problems, the becoming, the going, and it's all a movie. I'm different from it all. I'm grounded there, right? What power, right? Or the power of Arjuna. I mean, this is very kind of powerful story. He throws down his bow. Now to begin to hear Krishna's teaching, at the end of his teaching of yoga, this is the end of the 6th chapter we're talking about, he makes this statement. To take this up is difficult. And Krishna says what? Because the kind of yoga I'm talking about, if you paid attention, I said in the beginning of my discourse about yoga, in 239 of the Bhagavad Gita, a little endeavor in this is never lost. This must be bhakti, because what is nirguna, that will not be lost. If it's sattvic or rajasic, the gain may be lost. But if the gain is from the eternal realm, it will not be lost. A little gain in this will never be lost, and it was saved from the greatest danger of the perpetuation of material life, right? And at the end of the discourse on yoga, what does he say? Yoginam api sarvesham advatendantaratmanam shadavan bhajate yomam sa me yuktatamo matam. All the yogis, I've talked about different types of yoga. The best is one who has faith, is abiding in me, bhakti, right? Then he gives so many reasons why. 7th chapter through 12th, where he speaks about bhakti yoga and about himself as the object of bhakti, or the object of love, and the yoga of devotion. So he's telling Arjuna, he says, don't you worry, he's saying, if you don't perform this perfectly, you'll get the results of perfectly performing your dharma. There's the thing about the karma mark. You have to do it perfectly right. If you say the mantra the wrong way, or you put the wrong thing in the fire at the wrong time, you're not going to get the desired result. This is on a spectrum of love. We begin with varnashram. Mm. So it was the union of Radha and Krishna. Radha and Krishna want to become one. Mm. And when they try to become one, Radha starts, she's so good at it that she starts to think like Krishna, and Krishna starts to think like Radha, and they remain two. Mm. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the solution to the problem. The two in one. Mm. What you were speaking about, the highest thing, that's me. I better cover your mouth. Mm. That's a secret thing. And you've understood it. No wonder, but the Charja Sarvabhauma told me when I was leaving South India, find that guy Ramananda. You and him have something in common. Mm. I could never understand him before, but after being converted by you, I know that you are from the same tree, Rasikas. So in Varnashram, this is the low end, and this Radha Prem, the high end, right? The low end is very kind of a childish idea of religion. You teach your children, say thank you. So you live with gratitude. Thank the sun god, thank the moon god, thank the air god. We're bowing down everywhere all the time. Good thing. It's good. They said, if you love someone, they'll tell you all the secrets. So if you venerate nature, you appreciate the bounty of nature, worshipfully as we do, all her secrets will be revealed. It's not by tearing her apart and brutalizing and raping and pillaging the natural world. We're going to find out all of her secrets. And what is the biggest secret of nature? The secret is, I have a soul, and it's you. You are the soul. You are what makes me go round. Right? Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidime param. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yaedam dharyate jagat. Krishna explains, Bhumirapanalo vayu kamano buddhareva cha hankara iti yame bina prakriti ashtada. This is matter. These are its basic constituents. And there is another Shakti. It is called Para Shakti, Para Prakriti. Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho. Oh, great one, powerful Arjun, powerful Arnd. It is called Jiva. It is you. You make the world go round. The Jiva, consciousness. Making matter go. So this is the soul of nature. She'll tell you that. She can't tell you everything about the soul. Push in the direction where you can find out, right? To find out about yourself. You can find out negatively for nature. I'm not nature. I'm not matter. What am I? For that, I have to turn inward, right? And to those who represent that inner world, who come from the inner world to us, revelation and explanation of the revelation from realized sadhus and so on and so forth, right? So this is for this is our, if you will, prospect in human life, right? And this then is the one thing we can do that artificial intelligence can't do. It can't take your job away, everything away, but it can't do meditation for you. It can't chant Hare Krishna for you. You understand? So let it come. Let it take everything away from everybody in the world, and then there'll be only one thing to do: chant Haribol. Nitai Gold Haribol. Right? This is the one thing. This can never be taken away. Because if you make a perfect robot, as I said before, and you showed now the robot is conscious, just see, has feelings. Now we don't need this God question anymore. But if it's a perfect robot, perfectly human, what will it do? We'll start to wonder, is there God? What is the meaning? What is the purpose? I like that idea of yoga. So you cannot get away from this. You never get away from this. No. This is what human life is for. This is its purpose. Time should be spent for this, right? In some sages they spend, right, their time for Brahma Sukha. Some worship God with awe and reverence, but these coward boys, with that way they perceived this highest truth, not undifferentiated, qualityless peace, the bliss of peace, not God at a distance, Yes, sambhavami yuge yuge. I come again, yuga after yuga, right? Hmm? It says, I come to establish dharma, and to give protection to my devotees. Hmm? The latter is the former reason. The second is a byproduct of that. Hmm? He's coming, Krishna's driven, Krishna, this is Krishna, not Nrsimha Bhagavan or Matsya or Kurma, an avatar of Narayan, but Krishna himself. Hmm? He's coming for his own devotees. Hmm? And this is Swayam Bhagavan who's coming. Those who are pursuing the Braj Bhakti, he's coming for them. Hmm? He cannot bear their separation anymore. Hmm? He manifests in the world. And they've taken birth there in his Prakat Leela. And as a byproduct, he's establishing Dharma. When he leaves Braj, right? When he goes to Mathura, Kurukshetra, Hastinapur, Dwarka, there he's establishing Dharma. And he has some appearance of Aishvarya, godliness, the prince. But in Braj, he's just like a human child. As this verse says, Shritanam, not a Darakina. He looks so much like an ordinary child that ordinary people, that's what they think he is. What eyes it takes to see. Like Prabhupada said, only a few people recognized him for who he was. And they wrote so much about it and spoke so much about what they saw. What's their vision, right? What they saw with eyes of love, you will see differently. So, some come from heaven. So when he comes, those sadhakas in heaven, they get to come also. So these two sectors. Now these two sectors are important to us because also we're sadhakas. But the third type, the second type I should say, is the nityasiddhas. And this verse is sometimes looked at from the perspective of those devotees. And in that sense, it represents what's called sthiti. Sthiti. I'll explain. So, in the devotee's life, there is a high tide of union and a low tide of separation. It's called, in a broad sense, yoga rasa and ayoga rasa, or yoga and ayoga. Union, separation. Yoga, ayoga. This is how Rupa Goswami explains it in relation to Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya, and into the Manjari form of Madhurya also. And then in the other form, like Radha's, we have Vipralamba and Sambhog, these terms. Anyway, similar. Yoga and Ayog. Union and separation. And the separation is of basic types. Utkantita and Viyoga. Utkantita means there's separation on the part of the devotee who has developed love for Krishna but has not met him yet. This is like the Purva Rag of Radharani. She's fallen in love with Krishna. Krishna's fallen in love with her, but the circumstances have not allowed themselves to afford them the circumstance, or the opportunity to express it. So there's some feeling, but there's some doubt at the same time. So this is causing some separation. So Arjuna is given as an example by Rupa Goswami. He saw a picture of Krishna, a painting of Krishna. And utkantita, this kind of means like kind of a longing. So this longing has a corresponding union when he meets Krishna. So the sadhak will have this kind of longing, and in the Prakat Leela, you'll meet Krishna. This is called Siddhi. Siddhi. But within the Prakat Leela, the manifest Leela, Krishna leaves, apparently, to Mathura and Dwarka. in Mathura and Dwarka and the and, enter into the uppercut lila, into Goloka. So Siddhi, Utkantita, and then that separation has a corresponding union, Siddhi. But in the Prakat Lila, there's separation. So now another type of separation. This is called Viyoga. Viyoga. And when for a short period of time, when that separation is mitigated by union, this is called Tushti. So there may be small separations. It goes behind a tree, can't see him. Separation, Tushti, meeting, something like that. But for the long meeting, the long separation, and the corresponding union is called Stiti. This verse is thought to be an example of Stiti. It means this is from that point of view, the Nityasiddhas, who are Subal, Sudam, Sridham, represented here. This is what it is, the eternal life, what their life is like in Goloka. It represents this, the full face of union, in this case, in Sakyarasa. And the emphasis here is that Krishna is standing before them, and they're not trying to keep him there. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami, to emphasize what he means in this verse, what he's saying, he gives us another verse. I mean, he's talked about Gyanis, he talked entering Brahman feature of Krishna. He's talked about the Vaidhi Bhaktas, dutiful love, meeting Krishna as Narayan, for example, in Vaikuntha. What about the yogis? So he gives a verse about the yogis, next verse. And in that verse, this word stitam is used also. He employs this word. Let me turn to the text here for a moment. What he says. Yes, he says, Yat papumsur, bahu janma krichrato tritatmabi. Bahu janma krichrato. With great difficulty, bahu janma, many lives, he says, yogis, trying to control the mind, completely capture the mind, to fix the mind on God, which is recommended, for example, in Yoga Sutra. Ishvara Pranida. This is the whole idea of Yoga Sutra, Patanjali, central to all forms of yoga, to fix the mind, and he recommends fix the mind by putting it on Ishwar, means on God, right? Ishwar Pranidan, submission to Ishwar. And here Sukadeva says, for many, many lives, Bahu Janma, many, many lives, try to control the mind, that Padapamsur, they cannot get close to a particle of dust of anything in Vrindavan, or to speak of the cowherds and how they're playing so intimately with Krishna. Trying to capture Krishna in the mind, these boys are not making any effort to capture Krishna in their minds. They're not trying to keep him there. He's there. He's not going anywhere. He's attached to them. You want to become attached to God. What about God becoming attached to you? That's a very peculiar possibility. Therefore, Sukadeva is marveling, what kind of practice is that you can attain that? And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, that kind of practice. Effortlessly, he's there. And he's not in their minds. He's come out in front of them and given them bodies that correspond with their prema. Their prema is manifest, so they have a corresponding form to express it. And that form is completely captured Krishna. What is the term Rupa Goswami? Krishna Akarshani. the power of prema. Krishna is conquered by it. And this is, among these Braj people, Sukadeva says this is the best example. So he extends here the idea, not just the cowherd boys, to anybody in Braj. Even the shadow of a tree is in a better position than what you can attain by Bahujanma, lifetime after lifetime of yoga. This is their position. Oh, goodness, so beautiful. Attainment, perfection, and we've heard of the playful nature of it and so forth. So charming, poetic, and so forth. And as they played so hard, they forgot to picnic. Remember, the whole thing here, the beginning of this chapter was Krishna decided, let's have a picnic, which means we're not going to wait, sit here. Is Nanda here yet? Is he at the table to have breakfast and a whole affair? We're going to pack our lunch and get out early in the morning to herd cows. It's really on the basis of herding cows. They want to go out and just explore the forest, right, with Krishna and his friends, right? So he's called all the boys, woken them up. We're going. And we're going to have lunch. We're going to go far out, away from home this time. We're not coming back for lunch. Let's go. But they've gone and they've played, and we heard how they played. They played so hard and so extraordinarily with Krishna that Sukadeva spoken this verse. It's just, to use a hippie term, is blowing his mind, if you will. I come from that generation, but it's still around, the term. So his mind is blown, right? He just can't, it's off the map, right? It's off the scriptural map of what's possible to attain, practically speaking. And so this is the scene, right? And they played so hard that they forgot to picnic, which is, part of the whole affair. They forgot to pick, even as their play involved such lightheartedness as stealing another's lunch bag and playing with it, and playing keep away with it, only to give it to Krishna, who in turn blessed the boy with his embrace. Right? So, in other words, they're even throwing the lunch bags around and not thinking about eating. Right? They just played. So, now, Lila Shakti, the Shakti that behind the Lila keeps the, changes scene, brings the curtain, brings in the new props and so forth for the next scene, the way of talking about it. Lila Shakti. Krishna has a Shakti. Lila Shakti takes different forms, right? The Lila Shakti is now, they got to stop these boys playing. They got to have the picnic. It's the time for the lunch. It's overdue here. So now you have to understand how deeply they were absorbed in this intimate play, and Krishna was. His omniscience is so far receding to the background that the fact that he's God and there's a difference between himself and these devotees, it's just not in play at all. That's how close they are. It's unbelievable. This is what, again, it's just staggering to Sukadeva. So what is Leela Shakti going to have to do to bring them out of this condition? So, thus Leela Shakti intervened in order that the play might segue into the picnic and its play. It has a play of its own, as the Bhagavatam describes, which is very charming and beautiful. She did so, how? By allowing the personification of sin, Agha, in the form of a giant serpent, Aghasura, to enter the blessed scene, causing the Sakas to pause out of curiosity. So this is a huge thing that she did. It's not that Kamsa could just send his henchmen and they just go and break up the scene. Leela Shakti allows that to happen, to further Leela and bring out the heroism of Krishna and make, as this section of the Leela does, so many other substantial, significant points for us in our practitioners' lives, right? So the next verse comes. The boys, they see this on, that's like 10 miles long, and his mouth is open before them. And so, like, okay, we'll stop playing. What the heck is this, right? So, aho mitrani gadata sattvakutam purastitam asmat sangrasana vyata vyalatundayate nava. Wow, guys. A little bit. Some believed what they came across to be a giant python. How can it be? Hmm? As I said the other day, you might think it sounds a bit fantastic, a giant python. They thought so too. How could it be? How could a python be, be this big? Yeah? And questions were also voiced. Is it alive? Can it move? Hmm? Is that a pathway into a cave or a giant serpent's tongue? Hmm? But all such thoughts served only to increase their curiosity. Hmm? To fearlessly approach and enter whatever it was, to explore it firsthand. They were, after all, servants in friendship with Bakari, at whose lotus feet one is fearless, Abai Radhanaruvindo, which is, of course, Prabhupada's initiated name, who is fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. This fearlessness is very characteristic of this Sakyasa. Prabhupada would like to preserve those initials from his initiated name, AC. Fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. This is actually the position of these cowherds. And we see it here because something has come before them that would strike fear in the heart of a yogi or again or anybody else, right? But they're not afraid at all. They're fearless because they're at the lotus feet, surrendered, sheltered at the lotus feet of Krishna. So they said what? They said they were fearless because they were all servants of Bakari. So this is in the next verse, which I don't cite here, but I reference Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 24. The boys refer to him as Bakari. Bakari means the enemy of Baka. Now you remember in our narrative in earlier days, Krishna liberated Bakasura. And this is the instance in which he showed his heroism for the first time in no uncertain terms. Because previously in Gokul Mahaban, it wasn't clear that he was a hero when Putana was slain, or the Trinavarta and so forth, or Shakatasur. But as he enters into his Seish Kumar Leela now, because this is a Leela that is central to the fraternal love, as Krishna starts to become from childhood to boyhood, and his temperament starts to change and so forth, and then in his boyhood and in his adolescence, all these features or periods of his age are relative to Sakya Prem, to this type of fraternal love that's central to this discussion here in this chapter. So Krishna shows this heroism by slaying Bakasura. This is the beginning. Heroism is an udipana for Sakyarasa. It's not an udipana for Vatsalya Rasa, for example. No, they think, oh, he's into what he's done, and we could do that too. These friends think like this. So they mention they've already seen him slay Bakasura, so they have this kind of experience of his heroism now. So that helps them in this situation. They see this python, we're the friends of Bakari. What do we have to worry about here? And they look at his beautiful face. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 24, the boys refer to Krishna as Bakari, enemy of Baka. Aga was the brother of Putana and Baka. So this is getting worse. Here's a go. Baka was the brother of Putana, so he had the task given to him by Kamsa to slay Krishna. Kamsa's order was motivating enough, but he was further motivated by the fact that Krishna had slain his sister Putana. So he had extra motive. Now here comes Agasura, and both Baka and Putana are his brother and sister. So he's like extra motivated, extra motivated, extra demonic, if you will, are his intentions, right? So Baka was the first asura to bring about Hari's heroism. The boys expressed their Sharanagati through their confidence in Bakari's protection, even as Aga was more formidable than his siblings, because he was driven not only by Kamsa's command. Bakari's beautiful face. Krishna is another name for Krishna, right? This layer of Baka. And simply because it was so beautiful. Or in some cases, as if to say, what's your opinion? Is this a snake? Is this a cave? What are you thinking, pal? As if he's just one of them. What's your take on this? They look at his face just because it's so beautiful to look at. Or to say, hey, pal, what's your take on this? Speak up. You say something. You're wise. You're a smart boy. And then they clap their hands. Anyway, making music, they clapped their hands and joyfully entered the jaws of Agasthya. Sanatana Goswami says, here the word that they clapped their hands should be understood as they took symbols, kartals, with the symbols to extend that. They entered the mouth of Agasura in kirtan, in kirtan of Krishna Nam. The cows with hightailing, their tails up and running in front of them. Absolutely fearless. With kirtan, they proceeded and into the mouth of Agasura, and yad vibeti swayam bhayam. Fear itself, the Bhagavatam says, is afraid of the holy name of Krishna. Now Krishna is standing on the sidelines because he's taking this whole thing in, and they ask him, what do you think? And his omniscience comes to the fore, and he realizes this is an ogre. This guy's got evil intentions. And here, my friends, it's very interesting because his omniscience comes to the fore, by which he can understand that he's a demon. And at the same time, it recedes to the background and thinks that his friends might be in danger, which his omniscience should have told him it's not a problem, right? So he's being pulled by his Aishvarya Shakti, his Leela Shakti, in different directions. And anyway, he decided I should stop the boys from entering. But suddenly, Karuna Rasa overtook him. Karuna Rasa is one of the secondary rasas. It means like compassion, Karuna Rasa. So he was overwhelmed by Karuna Rasa and for his devotees. Krishna has, this is one of his characteristics or one of his qualities mentioned by Rupa Goswami, that he is compassionate. This compassion is expressed towards his devotees in circumstances like this. So you can imagine how big his heart swelled, right? He didn't want the boys to enter in. The boys wanted to enter in. How will we understand that? The boys have one will, Krishna has another will, but their will won out and they entered in. So this is the play between Krishna's will and the devotee's will. Of course, ultimately, Krishna wants to do what his devotees want. His pleasure comes from the pleasure of the devotees, so no problem. So the boys entered. Krishna's heart swelling with Karuna Rasa now is the dominant rasa in this part, this section of the narrative. And as the sakas and the calves were now confronted with the fire of Aga's digestion, they started to melt. From one point of view, must have been due to that the innards and going-ons of Aghasura's evil intentions manifest as his the bad smells and so forth. The fire of his digestive power. Python's got a pretty big digestive power, right? They can swallow a whole animal, digested bones and all, right? So they're confronted by his digestive power, so ostensibly they're going to melt from that, so it would appear, but actually they're melting from the kirtan of the holy name. And now some slight separation from Krishna, who's standing behind and not just coming along with them, pondering, assessing the situation, right? So this. But how could Krishna save his friends at the same time liberate Agha? He did so by swelling with compassionate heart for his friends. He died. He died, but he was a yogi. Right? The yogis, they want to die and exit out of the Brahmarandram, out of the top of the head. They want it. The Atma goes out here, successful, right? Instead of out through the mouth, for example. Ordinary people want to go out here. He was the yogi with mystic power that siddhis to do things like this, manifest as a python, but distracted by his powers. And this is not uncommon. This is a theme in the Bhagavatam. Yogis, like I cited the other day, Surabhi Muni, they have powers, they can do extraordinary things. They get distracted by them, enamored by them. And the simplicity and the beauty of bhakti is lost on them. Sometimes then they offend even devotees who are difficult to understand. They don't look like mystics necessarily. Their mysticism is beyond what the mysteries of consciousness that yogic prowess is in pursuit of, really. Right? Vaishnavera Kriyamavra Vignena Bhujai. Difficult to understand the inner life of the Vaishnavas. So he choked on the compassion of Krishna's heart, and he exited the Brahmarandra. So Krishna allowed him to succeed, right? Nonetheless, despite his intentions. Thus, it is not uncommon. This is not uncommon. Agha was a yogi in pursuit of mukti, but distracted by siddhis, which led him to engage in undesirable activities, which is not uncommon. Krishna's compassion for his devotees was astounding to Agha, and witnessing it purified him. Thus he left the world by Krishna's grace, as such yogis desire to, through the Brahmarandram. However, success in yoga culminates in Brahma Sayuja, merging in Brahman, that Brahma Sukham we talked about earlier. But Brahman was still inside the dead body of Aghasura, so how could he merge with the body of Krishna? Thus he hovered above for all the devas to see, until, that is, Mukunda emerged with his entourage, at which time the Atma, of Agha, entered into Mukunda for everyone to see. So we'll continue this narrative going forward tomorrow. The liberation of Aghasura. Grantara Srimad Bhagavata Ki Jai. Any question? Yes.
Yes, I remember the other day you said that each demon represented, I don't remember if an aparad or an alphas or something. What is this demon?
Well, what I mentioned was that some devotees, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one in particular, that made the suggestion that devotees who are practicing have anarthas, or obstacles in their mind, obstacles coming from karma, maybe from offenses, from different things that get in the way, that they need to overcome in their practice, right? Now, in order to overcome these obstacles, which might be obstacles on other spiritual paths as well, that are dealt with in particular ways, but he has suggested that from a bhakti point of view, let us focus on Krishna and look at the Leela, the manifest Leela, the Prakat Leela, and how Krishna is liberating these demons, and look allegorically at these demons in terms of representing a particular anartha that I need to overcome, and meditating on the Leela and how Krishna can slay this or do away with this anartha. I petition him while recalling the Leela. So he's recommending recalling the Leela of Krishna, becoming absorbed in the Prakat Leela, as a way of overcoming anarthas. And in particular, these aspects of the Prakat Leela that involve Krishna's heroism, so central to Sakirasa, that is the liberating of Baka, Aga, Bhutana, and so on and so forth. This is where within the Leela narrative to focus. And so he's given suggestions. This anartha could represent this, Bhakti Siddhanta, and it could mean this. So there are different opinions. There's no definitive, this one means this, and so forth. Now you can read about this in maybe Krishna Chaitanya Shikshamrita of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He's given some suggestions there. Him in divinity, and therefore there's a bonding, an emotional bonding that comes about by hearing his Leela. Therefore we relate the Leela and we say something and everybody chuckles and go, yeah, I can get that. And that's what I'm like too. I know that, yeah. See, this causes a samskar, impressions for Krishna. So this is very powerful because those impressions of attraction to Krishna, they will become, as they accumulate over time, a favorable wind in our practice, which will make it easy for us to practice. We'll naturally be able to move in the direction of practice, whereas now we have some scars to the opposite. We naturally move in the other direction. We kind of forcibly try to drag ourselves to the class or to the arti, as may be the case, and so on, or do our japa, and so on. So this is this recommendation of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, like I said, a very positive approach to overcoming the negative. What particular obstacle Vasura represents in Bhakti Vinod's Chaitanya Shikshamriti, I can't remember the precise one that he's mentioned, but it's not like a hard and fast. But look there. I'll take a look, see if we'll still talk about this a little more tomorrow, so maybe I'll look for myself and speak about it tomorrow. Anything else? Yes.
In the beginning of the picture, you used a word, you said that Krishna in the bread. It's a special name for him being overcome.
Overcome by prem? Krishna Karshini?
No, one word. What he experienced. It's characteristic of the bread.
Characteristic of the verse?
Of the bread.
A braj? We have to go back and listen. Yes.
You were saying also in the beginning how external kirtan ultimately leads to internal kirtan.
Yeah.
And not experienced that. Like you have different lifetimes to actually get that internal kirtan. Because I know it's hard to get.
Well, the idea here is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has spoken about Sankirtan in Shikshastakam in 8 verses, and it begins with Chetodarpana Marjanam. So to cleanse the chitta, where all these impressions are stored and the habits are formed from these impressions and they're driving us and so forth. So to cleanse the chitta is the first stage of purification that we can expect will be the result of kirtan, which is our Sankirtan, this chanting, is the main method the method to his madness, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you want to redecorate your house, okay? So you call a interior decorator, right? And you sign a contract. She's going to interior, and then she comes in and says, "Okay," and she says, "Get rid of that rug, take that picture, throw it out. Get rid of that couch, throw out that bed." And you go, "Well, wait a minute, I thought you were going to decorate my house, not throw everything out here." She says, "Well, no, no, no. First we have to throw all this stuff out that's not useful. Then we'll start to decorate." So it's part of the interior decoration to cleanse the heart, right? That's part of it. Or to use another example, if you want to grow the creeper of bhakti, the vine of bhakti, the bloom and the flower of praying, you have to make the heart fertile. You have to do a little digging. Let's say you say you heard Swami's got mangoes. If you want one, go to him. So you come to me and say, "Swami, can I have a mango?" And I go, "Okay, let's see, I got something here." And I pull out a seed and it's dry, and I say, "Here's a mango." "What are you talking about? No, that's a mango. How am I supposed to get? Well, so I tell you, take it, dig a hole, put it in the ground, cover it over. Wait a minute, mangoes are up here. What are you talking about? I say, "No, you do that, and then wait a long time, and take care of it, water it, make sure it has sufficient sun, and then someday it'll come above the ground, and then you'll have a mango." So it works like this, right? It takes some time. And if we understand it properly, and how high is the ideal, the fact that it may take time is in time doesn't become an issue anymore. The ideal is I've got an appetite for, nothing else will be able to capture my attention as a goal in life. And so I'm resolved to this. When you get to that stage, then it will come quickly. Then it will come much, much quickly. So some devotees say, "How many lifetimes will it take me?" Where they say, "Can I become conscious in one lifetime?" I said, "In one lifetime." Which one? When you don't ask that question anymore, that lifetime. When it's no longer a concern for you, you're just doing bhakti. I'm just doing bhakti. Mama janmani janmanishvare, bhavatad bhakti rahoita kitoi. So this is progress, Mahaprabhu says, in the 4th verse of Shikshastra. I don't care about whether I'll take birth again. I just want to do bhakti. That's all. It's so beautiful if you can become absorbed in that. And then the arthas will fall away like leaves in fall from the tree, right? So by this external kirtan, internal life comes about. And it comes about in the form of smaranam. So kirtana prabhave, smarana swabhave. By the power of kirtan, that internal meditation will arise naturally. And then in the context of that internal life and meditation, then this siddhaswarup, a form corresponding with the prema, will manifest in your meditation that corresponds with the love that you're cultivating. And you enter into what's called bhava bhakti, from sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti. Now the practice is internal. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was going everywhere doing kirtan. By the force of the kirtan, he was turned inward, and he became a private person. He couldn't function. So live a whole life happy, hearing, chanting, and so forth, and the power of kirtan eventually will turn you inward. And then when you're deep inside, in that gopi's body, for example, you find yourself in the lila, and they're clapping their hands, and chanting Jai Krishna, Then you're into that kirtan. That's the kind of kirtan I'm talking about. So yeah, that's not going to happen tonight. That's first, that cleansing has to be done. So if it takes a lifetime or two, yeah. I mean, the way um, our community are coming from Bhakti Vinod, within the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, this line coming from Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, my Guru Maharaj, our Prabhupada, so to speak. We have two Prabhupads there, but Prabhupada, this is a very, very distinguished line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism that's fulfilled the prophecy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and given dignity to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, put it on the stage of the world religions practically, made it the most interesting subject practically in Indology today. So you're in a good position. And all that will come in due course. That help? Yeah.
I had inherited a tulsi plant, and she wasn't cared for properly. So obviously she grew in weird ways. And I was just thinking like that, like, okay, so you start your life and you haven't cultivated the bhakti properly, so you have weird kind of shapes or weird character, that comes out. And although now, she's, she started producing manjari, so she attained maturity.
The blossom is what counts. So you need someone to come do some pruning, and right. So good sadhu come and help you. Look a little crooked, whether in this life or this life or next life. Start now. Start now is the thing. Yes, it's the path of bhakti. There's a stage called bhajana kriya. It's called anishta bhajana kriya. The practice, bhajana kriya, the way of practice, is not steady. So it goes like this. Here's where you want to go, the top of the Himalayas. It goes like this. Going through the foothills, right? So sometimes it looks, I'm going down. But if you look here, see here, you're actually going up. And eventually you reach the top. So, or it's like a long and winding road. Long and winding road to your door. Yeah. With good association, good understanding of the path, as articulated in the scriptures and so forth, that winding road eventually becomes straight, but it's not narrow. It's very broad. Now suddenly, some verses have so many different meanings, but it's straight now. Another analogy, you want to go to the valley of love when you're on this side of the mountain. You got to go to the top, and you got to go down all the way down the other side. And when you go up, you have to have a rope tied onto you, right? You have to have that kind of good guidance. Even if you slip, you're only going to go so far, and you'll go right back up. So all these stages, up to the top, you come to Nishta now. It's all downhill from there, and you can see the valley. It's all downhill from there. So we make an interim goal, and Mahaprabhu has advised us to get to the interim goal of prem, where there's all kinds of sattvika bhavs, transformations of the body. You have to be able to bend your body like this. Trinadapi, Sunichan. This is the intermediate goal. That verse, a famous verse of Shikshastakam, this is about Nishta. He says, Kirtaniya Sadahari, you become tolerant, humble, and understand why. Look, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a tree and it spoke to him, said, why are you tolerant? The grass spoke to him. Have you seen any trees here? Did you even think of this verse once? You see? How much grass? If he spoke to him, how alive was he to his practice? Is it he's showing the way? Hmm? So eventually the whole world will speak to us about bhakti. Our guru will speak to us through all the manifestations of nature, teaching us. Right? But it takes a little time. It's the stress here, the emphasis is obviously the importance of sadhusanga, right? Sadhusanga ki jai. All right, we stop there. Here we go.